everyone. It's been a pleasure to be out here, and wanted to talk about something which may touch the lives of millions of people who are confronted by adversity day in and day out, and actually get bogged down by adversity. So during my 3 decades of leadership experience, more so in the last 15 years, what I have seen is that primarily people are actually great from inside, but they feel ordinary from outside. And today my talk is going to be about how can you be extraordinary despite the ordinariness of which confronts us day in and day out, and hence I call it extraordinary from the ordinary. So if you can see out here, this is a picture, this is a sculpture of David. If you would all know, there was a great artist called Michelangelo from Italy. I think he's known so well to be one of the greatest artists of all time. And actually, he used to actually dissect human cadavers way back in Italy in the 14th, 15th century, primarily to understand the human anatomy as such. He actually used to stay in the night, look for morgues, go there, see the human, and actually used to dissect them. And to be very frank with you, violating human corpses during those days and even now is actually punishable by death offense as such. But Michelangelo still used to do that because he felt that if he has to create a great art, he has to look from within inside first of all, because what he will create as an art form will be from outside, and unless and until he does not see what lies beneath the surface, he will not be able to create what lies inside as such. So extraordinary, we all believe that there is something called extraordinary, and we always believe that it's added to the word ordinary. If you add extra to the word ordinary, it means extraordinary, but it's not actually like that. Extra is not added to the ordinary to make it extraordinary, but is actually it's an uncovering. It's an uncovering that how do you become extraordinary, and that is within, because it lies within you. So if Michelangelo, when he was asked to make the sculpture of David, if you would have all heard the story of David and Goliath. So if the pictures, what we remember, the Goliath was very big, but actually David with his sling and stone actually decimated Goliath. So he felt that David was not really portrayed what he should be. And he actually, as I told you, used to go to these morgues and actually see to the humans what lies within. So what he actually made out to be the David sculpture was far different than what David actually was made to look like. It was primarily because he actually dissected human, went into the human anatomy and saw that what lies beneath the human is not seen from the surface. So the greatness, actually what I intend to say is that the greatness, the extraordinariness actually lies beneath the surface. It's not really transparent or visible to the human eye from the outside as such. So if you aspire extraordinary, if you want to be extraordinary, my 3 decades of leadership and 15 years of leadership positions in all these organizations have taught me one thing, that unless and until you don't go and seek adversity, extraordinariness will not come naturally to you. We all know that we have leaderships which is based on trust, empathy, authenticity, can give us a lot of connect with our team members and with our larger society at large. But what I wanted to tell you today is about adversity, that why should you actually go out and seek adversity in order to build the extraordinary within you as such. So extraordinary is forged in diversity, in adversity, so to say. So if you really see in many times people who have gone through difficulties, people who have gone through various conflicts have tended to be much more resilient, have been tended to be much more victorious than people who have largely led a comfortable life. I think there are enough examples in our history and enough examples in the geopolitical history that where we have seen that people who have actually gone through adverse situations have actually come out to be great leaders as such. So if you see, adversity builds what? It builds first of all a growth mindset. Why it builds a growth mindset? Because when you confront an adverse situation, many a times you actually feel that you can probably do this situation or look at this situation a little bit differently than what you would have looked at if you would not have been in this kind of a situation. So it builds growth mindset. Adversity also brings resilience. I think there are enough examples in the history when we have seen that when you get confronted with adversity, you actually build resilience. Having born in Kashmir, and the cauldrons of Kashmir in the early 90s when insurgency was at peak, and I lived in a lovely bungalow which was actually made by my father, who had expired just 1.5 years back in 1990s, and suddenly the insurgency at its peak in Kashmir actually left many of us actually had to virtually run away in the night and go to other places in the country. So to say that suddenly one night we had to leave everything else and board a truck and go to the nearest place, which was 295 kilometers away, was Jammu. And suddenly, from living in a bungalow, you suddenly were huddled in a room which were 18 people inside, and then shifted to the refugee camps when you had a home of your own just 295 kilometers away, and then struggling for daily needs, so to say. A truck used to come with tomatoes for your nutritional needs. You used to actually run after the trucks. So I think it didn't build animosity, it didn't build ill will. What it built was resilience. I think adversity builds resilience. I think this was a great example of when actually resilience is built within you. It's adaptability. One of the major areas where we feel is that if you live a life of comfort largely, adaptability is something is always a little distant to you. Because why? Because you've been used to living a particular kind of lifestyle as such. So I think adaptability is one of the greatest key strengths which comes out when you have been through adverse situations. And of course, it develops your character. We talk about adversity building character is because once you go through these situations which are difficult to confront, you build a character of yourself. You're able to face much more difficult situations ahead. So hence what I say is adversity is key to success and is the best preparation for the extraordinary. You will talk about so many things, that how do you become extraordinary, good to great, so many leadership styles, but I'm out here trying to tell you that how seeking adversity, you go out proactively and seek adversity, which can actually bring out the best in you, which can make you an extraordinary. Most of the times what happens is when we actually face adversity or any situation which is difficult, we tend to get bogged down, we tend to get scared. And adversity is not how will you actually, that will define you. It's not the adversity that will define you. What is the reaction to the adversity which will define you? So if two countries are at war or are about to be at war, we see so much that in geopolitical scene, it's both of them are in adverse situations because both of them are going to get confronted with a war with each other. But it's the reaction of one country versus the other country that will define that how did you react to this adverse situation, and that's how will be your path to the extraordinary, as I call it. So every heartbreak, every failure in our lives carries in it a seed of which is equal or of a greater benefit. It's only if you are willing to find that seed. We most of the times we say that, oh, luck is not on my side, the day was bad, I just couldn't get it going. But many a times we actually fail to understand that each of these failures or each of these mistakes what we committed or each of these adversities which we confronted has in it a seed of a greater or an equal opportunity in life. We miss it out, we have to find it. So how do you emerge stronger from adversity to be extraordinary? So first of all, it's very important that don't let hardships define you. Most of the times when we are confronted with hardships, they tend to define us. They tend to define us that, oh, he's gone through a hardships. We're looked down with, we're looked with sympathy by other people, and we feel really comfortable in that space because we feel that people are being sympathetic to us. We should never be ashamed of failure. I think failure is one thing which is the biggest teacher, and we should never let failure subsume us, consume us as such. And many a times when you are confronted with failures, we tend to be defensive. We tend to find ways and means to confront the others that as to why we failed, rather than looking at the opportunities which can come out after being really realistic about why did we fail. What is that in that we did wrong and we failed? We do need to listen and learn and keep asking questions. I think we should keep on continuously asking questions as to why did we fail, why could not we face this situation in a manner in which I could have done, or why I didn't attain my objectives the way I was supposed to. What is that which I did not do right? Build connections. Many a times in adverse situations, when situations are not good, we should tend to take comfort, we should tend to take support from others who are in your vicinity, in your community. I believe that many a times that support is always very, very useful. Many a times we are loners, we are born loners, and we believe that we share our joy, but most of the times when it's grief, we keep it to ourselves. But during adversity, it's very important to build connections. It's important to lean on others and definitely reflect on the lessons what we learned out of it. So what are those phases of adversity which I call, which we all confront in our day-to-day lives as such, which could be a personal loss, could be a health issue, could be a professional setback as well, and could be financial difficulties and relationship problems. So these are all, what I call the pillars, some of the pillars with which, an adverse situation can arise in your life. So we all confront day in and day out these situations, and how do you get out of it is something which is very, very important as such. So for the extraordinary, what's important to be, it's important to be mentally strong. It's important to take a position of what I call it, let it be, which means whatever the situation comes, let's go out and proactively seek adversity. Let's build a situation whereby which we actually feel that we're getting caught in a storm. I think that will open up vistas of opportunities as well. Seeking adversity, building adversity around you will create innovation funnels, will create newer ways of doing as such. And I have seen many times when people, nations are confronted in conflicts, post the reconciliation period, their resilience is much more stronger because they have gone through these adversities. So adversities have happened in many of our lives. We have seen so many of us getting confronted with adversity. It depends on the character what we build upon, whether that adversity will help us in building a new resilience and help us in achieving the extraordinary within you, because that extraordinary lies deep beneath you. It's not outside, it's very much inside as such. You have to find your own happiness, you have to find your own solace within and build it from yourself, build it within yourself as such. In 2007, I lost my son, who was just 6-7 months old, and probably the entire family felt crestfallen, and it was really sad on part. So I think this was not seeking adversity, this was adversity befalling upon you. And how did you come out of it, and how did you get out of this and still build your family is something which we all need to know, is that nothing is at the end of the world. These adversities will open up new vistas. So probably to have the most two beautiful pups today in my home, which probably make me feel much better than it was then. So extraordinary is already inside you, most of you. You don't need any permission from that. You don't need any perfection, and there is no real good time for this to be looked out. It's something deep within inside you. It's just like Michelangelo, he when he actually sculpted David, it was completely a different David than what people thought. David and Goliath was this big and David was this small, and yet he killed him with a sling and a stone. So that's something which is very deep within. Hence, when you seek the ingredient of the extraordinary, I think adversity is something whereby which it actually pushes you, it actually forces you to take permission from inside. You don't need any perfection, and you don't need any what I call the right time to actually get into the adversity. Adversity builds great innovation funnel. Adversity brings newer ways of doing things, and adversity actually helps you to bring a very, very strong character as such. So I think if you seek this ingredient, if you seek this ingredient of adversity, which is as different from what we call in the traditional leadership parlances, we talked about empathy, we talked about, the earlier, if you see the 1900s and the early 2000s, it was a command and control leadership. Then it gave way to what we call leadership led by post-code, was leadership led by empathy, led by trust, led by authenticity. And even now leadership talks about vulnerability. Vulnerability is one which endears you to your leaders, because Leadership tells vulnerability is something that you're not the smartest person in the room. Somebody else is also better than you at doing certain things. So as you built out these things, what I felt is, adversity has actually taken out a leaf out of the leadership book in terms of, building character, building resilience, building a growth mindset. And adversity also builds what I call an insurgent mindset. When you say adversity builds insurgent mindset, is nothing but typifying of that insurgent mentality within you, which actually makes you to do things which seemingly are impossible. I think there are enough examples in the last 2 odd decades where we have seen an insurgent mindset creating ripples. Now those insurgent mindsets could create ripples both ways, in the bad ways also, which may be linked with probable violence at some times, and insurgency at times when you actually go out and define yourself by the fact that I am on a mission and I'm going to create this insurgent mission, and I'm going to achieve this for my family, for my community, and for my organization, for my country as well. And insurgent missions, we have seen several examples where people who probably felt they could not move out within their comfort zones, but once they decided, they actually shook the nations. I think we all know events which have happened in the last 2 odd decades. Geopolitically is also where people with an insurgent mindset have actually, made the countries to tremble, and in some cases have actually done certain remarkable achievements where the countries and where their communities were proud of. So going back to the point is, unless and until you don't really seek adversity, which I call, go seek out adversity, because adversity will bring out the insight within you. You will use the chisel with which Michelangelo used to actually sculpt his do the sculptures. The chisel is in your hand. If you use the chisel, bring out the adversity in you, the David is already inside you. That inside David is already you. You can actually become bigger. You can actually become much more powerful. You can actually become a great leader. The strength of character, the strength of resilience, and the strength of adaptability will take you to places. So for me, I think I want to tell you is, don't just wait for adversity, go and seek out adversity. It can create a great amount of opportunities for all of us and can make this universe a better place to stay in. Thank you so much.